Hello to you all and a very warm welcome to our ACCA Middle East Women in Finance Forum. It's such a pleasure to be part of this important event, which really shows ACCA's commitment to extending opportunities for females in the finance industry in this region. I'd like to thank our speakers for joining us today. Cynthia Corby, the Chair of Women in Finance, and also Audit and Assurance Middle East Chief Operating Officer and Transformation Leader at Deloitte. San Am Champong, the Regional Head of the Chartered Institute of Procurement and Supply, Middle East and North Africa. David McKenzie, Group Managing Director at Mackenzie Jones Group. And Rasha Al-Khawaja, Director at TPL RMC. I'd also like to share my congratulations with Fazila Gopalani and Helen Dickey from ACCA Middle East for all their hard work in bringing the Women in Finance programme to life. I'm so pleased to speak at the relaunch of this forum and about the publication of our report, Mending the Gap, which paints a vivid picture of the challenges facing female finance professionals, how we can achieve fairness for women, and how we can open up more opportunities. I know that before the pandemic struck and lots of events were stopped, this forum had built up some real momentum. It was emerging as a vibrant, inspiring, and really constructive agent of change for the issues that matter most to us. Now we have the opportunity to pick up that work and make more progress, and that is a source of much satisfaction for all of us, I think. I have one main message today, and it's this: anything is possible with the right opportunity. It's true that women remain discriminated against in too many places. Their pay, their chance of promotion, their career prospects still lag behind men's in too many places, not just in the Middle East, but everywhere. A report by Forbes magazine found that only 3% of chief executives in the global financial services sector are women. And it's not just the top jobs where women are under-indexed, and that's especially true in the Middle East, where only 25% of the workforce is female, compared to the global average of 50%. It's true the gap is closing, not quickly enough, but it is closing. Deloitte pointed out in its 2021 report, Within Reach, Leadership, Representation and Gender Equity in Financial Services, that the proportion of women in leadership roles within financial services firms has modestly risen from 22% to 24%. And the UAE, for instance, has moved from one of the lowest ranking countries in the world for women's employment to 18th place in the UN Development Programme Gender Inequality Index. So yes, I've seen some advances for women in finance across my career and since I became ACCA's Chief Executive in 2008. But I remain one of only few women who lead businesses and organisations, and I want to say a few things about why more women don't advance as far as their talents deserve. This is a critical concern for everyone here and for the next generation of girls who are in education now and approaching the world of work. And I can't help but think of my own two daughters and about their prospects in the years to come. I want to spend some time today talking about where we are in this issue, why it needs to change, and how we can play our part in making that change happen. For me, it begins with the truth that change is already happening, too slowly, but there's a perceptual change nonetheless. There are lots of factors which are accelerating the slight increase in opportunities for women, and I'll mention a few of them. The biggest one is something that's difficult to pin down and hard to measure, but can be classed as cultural change. Put simply, it means that there is a wider acceptance in societies everywhere that women should have access to opportunity in their work and in their life that is equal to that of men. And from this, everyone will benefit. Old attitudes from ages past which discriminate against women are increasingly viewed as outmoded, outdated, and just plain wrong. That has happened in our lifetime. It's a generational change. The best businesses know this. They know that to ignore the right of women to claim equal opportunities to men in every walk of life is to risk serious reputational damage and suboptimal business performance. In that sense, the right of women to take the place which their abilities deserve is a business question as much as it is an ethical question. Far-sighted companies are increasingly aware that to stay relevant, to stay respected, they must accurately reflect the aspirations and the attitudes of all their stakeholders, which includes their investors, their customers, and their staff. One of the most interesting trends emerging now is a changing mood among big institutional investors on this issue and a shift in how they make decisions. There's a growing willingness to hold businesses to account across a range of measures that extend way beyond profitability. Increasingly, they demand action on sustainability, on corporate and social responsibility, and on diversity, including, crucially for us today, gender equality. Another huge factor has been the pandemic. COVID-19 has changed the world forever, and its effects reach into every corner of life. It has raised questions about how we live our lives and how we carry on business, and that includes the issue of gender equality. At ACCA, we commissioned a global survey into the effects of the pandemic on women especially, and it was clear that it was disproportionately more damaging for women, both economically and socially. Our report last year, Gender Responsive Budgeting, brought a valuable female perspective to the crisis. For women, it has been a story of job losses, a surge in the burden of unpaid care, and increasing economic dependence on men. But as we emerge from the pandemic, in some ways, the employment landscape for women is changing for the better. The pandemic triggered a revolution in remote working and in more flexible working, which in time has the potential to liberate countless women and men to combine home lives and careers more easily than ever before. There's been an explosion in digital education and in digital study, and at ACCA, we've worked to help drive that forward in our own approach. It has raised chances for untold numbers of women to pursue a professional career, especially for those women who've traditionally been excluded from professional education by the simple fact of geography or by cultural or domestic pressures. The question of greater access to professional education for women is so important. The numbers of women entering professional and business life is poised to explode in the coming generation. Everything we know from ACCA's extensive research into Gen Z, the generation of 18 to 25-year-olds who are entering professional and business life now, tells us that they are ambitious, fearless, and hungry for change, regardless of gender. This is reflected in ACCA's experience around the world, where accountancy is an increasingly popular choice for young women. A majority of our students, 59%, are women. And I have to say that the popularity of accountancy amongst women in general, and of ACCA in particular, is no accident. It's the result of more than a century of dedication to equality. ACCA was founded in 1904 to open up the chance of a useful and interesting career to people who've been excluded from professional life, and of course that included women. We were the first professional accountancy body in the world to admit women, and our first female member was named Ethel Ayres Purdy. For us, Ethel Purdy represents far more than a footnote in a history book. Our history shapes our present and it guides our future. We remember Ethel in particular every March on International Women's Day, when we dedicate special events to her memory. And she's also the name of our Global Governing Council's intranet. That's a living legacy, and it shows that ACCA has always and will always promote the values of fairness and gender equality. That's why it is no surprise that women feel that they belong with ACCA. It's also the reason why it's no shock that 24 of the 41 members of ACCA's councils are women, and that 4 of our 6-strong executive team are women. And our current president is a woman, Orla Collins, a strong advocate of opportunity for all. And that brings me to the first of my recommendations for how we get more opportunities for women in finance. As I mentioned, it's about culture. It's about building a respect for gender equality equality for all people, into the structure of your business. It's about communicating these values clearly at every level of an organisation, and it's about living these values. I also believe that mentoring and support networks for women professionals are so important, and it's another big reason why this forum is so vital. ACCA's theme for the last International Women's Day was imposter syndrome. It was about the inner voice which some women hear, which tells them they aren't really good enough to take on a new role. I hope you'll excuse the generalisation, but there is a substantial body of evidence that men are still more likely to take a chance on applying for a new job or a promotion. Women are more likely to focus on what they can't do rather than what they can do, and they're less likely to take that leap of faith and apply. Our message is all about encouraging women that they should silence the voice that tells them they can't and listen to the voice that says you can. Mentors can play such an important role in amplifying the positive and drowning out the negative. One of the most important lessons we should remember is that a career isn't something that happens to you, it's something you make for yourself. That means taking a chance when it presents itself. When someone opens a door for you, walk through it. Step forward when everyone else is stepping back. That attitude has helped me in my own career, and I thank my younger self for taking a chance when it came my way, even at times when it felt like a stretch. Finally, to return to the key factor that makes the difference for better prospects for female finance professionals. Businesses, if they want to achieve long-term sustainable success, now understand that there's a clear commercial case why appointing more women isn't a nice to have. It isn't a shiny statistic to adorn a glossy annual report or a crowd-pleasing PR stunt. It is a business essential, a necessity for any organisation that wants to build a sustainable future and reflect its customers, shareholders and employees' lives and aspirations. It's this fundamental business reset that will change women's prospects of success. I believe that the landscape will surely change at last for the coming generation. And it will change because businesses simply cannot afford to ignore the talent of half the world's population if they want to survive and thrive. Thank you all so much and have a great day.